Mitch joins us, and we're going through this, that, both, or neither. So we're going to decide whether you just want one, whether we want neither, whether we want both of them. We're going to go up from 400k. So to kick things off, mates, we have Finefeuaki up against Siwa Takiaho, which is a pretty interesting one. A bit of an out there one, obviously, with tax age. But how do you see these two? Do you see them both being, potentially good options, or do you have a clear stance on one?
Look, I don't have a clear stance on one or the other. I think the better pick is definitely Kulukefu Finefeuiaki if he gets the position. I think they priced Siwa Takeaho up way too high, 400. If he was at low 300s, maybe you could take a stab at him. Last played in
Gee, that's
2022.
nice.
He's not a spring chicken and a goal kicker anymore. So I'd probably lean towards Finefeuiaki, but even then, he's not a strong pick right now. We don't know if he's going to get the minutes or not. So it's probably a wait and see. But out of these two, definitely Finn.
So it could be a neither then. Is that where you're going?
You know what? Yeah, probably neither. Probably neither.
Yeah. Yeah, Taka is an interesting one. We haven't spoke about him much, but the age is definitely a worry. But I look at that forward pack, mate, with Manly, and there's a world where one of these guys gets 50 minutes, right? Or two of them even. Is it just Paseka, or does one of like a Jazz Tavanga or Takiaho, one of these guys get that second role, or is it just not worth it in your opinion?
I just don't think it's worth it. Round one, you definitely want to take risks and high educated risks. I just don't know if old man Takeaho is that answer. They've got Gerbo there, who's their big minute guy, Paseka, Olakawatu. They've got their 80-minute guys and their big minute guys. I just don't think these guys will get the minutes. They're not young anymore. So yeah, I just don't think it's worth the headache.
Fair play, mate. Well, we got Hetherington up against Jazz Tavanga next. So Kobe versus Jazz. Obviously, two middles in this one. What are your thoughts on those two?
Again, Kobe Hetherington, I think he's going to suck a few people in with the trials. He played pretty well against the Titans on Saturday, and I think he's going to have that 13 role come round one. But again, the Broncos pack, same with Manly. There's just too many mouths to feed. I just don't think he will get the minutes, and he won't be prioritized over your Carrigans and your Hasses, even if he is that starting lock. So again, probably one neither. Same with Tavanga, a little bit similar to Takeaho in that Manly side. They've got their guys there. He's coming over as a bit of a depth signing, a bit of impact role. Just not really fantasy relevant, I don't believe.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the starting at nine this week, and then he's obviously going to move to the middle following that. Is there decent minutes there?
I think there will be to start. Like Lockie Croker, is he back round three, round four? If Lockie Croker wasn't here and coming back until, round 7 or 8, and he actually had a bit of a lifeline to play that position, maybe we could have another stab at him. But we just don't know. Lockie Croker could be back round two, and it's just like, Tavanga's back to the bench. And at that 400k, it's right in that price point where you want to get right. These are the ones that can muck up your season. So I'd like again, it's just not worth the headache with these guys.
Yep. So neither on those two. And then Burbo versus Nafahu White, both at the same price, both with dual position. How do you see that one?
Well, Burbo, we had our fun with him last year, at that 250k price. And when they're at that price, it makes for a better reading. Nafahu White, with the trial teams just announced that you would have seen, he's on the bench. So if that's something to, take into account for round one, he's probably not an option. So again, out of these two, if they get the positions that we hope, Nafahu White would be the winner, but we just don't know what he will be. If he's off the bench, he's probably again not an option in that 400k price point.
Definitely. Yeah, they both probably have a little bit of value, but how much is the question? And we haven't seen
Yeah.
Burbo yet, so I'm excited to see him in the trials to see if he has actually improved. But mate, let's go Nafahu White versus Kelma Tuilagi then.
Now, this is definitely the interesting one. Kelma played his way in that trial into my NRL fantasy side once again. It looks like Bryce Cartwright is on the outer, which again, it is trial, guys. So you can never really know. We just have to see what's in front of us. And Kelma played really, really well. He was playing on the right side, which again is probably next to Moses, maybe Lomax, but definitely Moses. And you would have to think if he's on that right side, he's their big minute edge guy. Even if it's Katoga or whoever else will be on that left side, he should be getting 80 minutes. And he's definitely got a lot of value. Scored a lot of attacking stats in that trial, but he looks a really, really good pick. And he really passed the eye test, depending if he gets that big minute edge roll.
Yeah, we might have it again with the Eels back rowers, won't we? Which will be pretty interesting. And mate, moving on to a couple of mid-range guys again with Stephen Crichton and Davy Moale. Any interests or thoughts on those two?
Not a lot of thoughts. Stephen Crichton, again, he's not at Penrith anymore. I think he averaged in that 42 to 44 range a few years ago at Penrith, but he's in this dog side. I mean, they're just not as good as Penrith are, and he's not very fantasy relevant. He doesn't have a fantasy relevant game if he's not kicking goals. I know you're a big Davy Moale fan in this preseason. I know you haven't told many people about that, but again, he played really well in the trials. But there's just so many mouths to feed at South. I know they have a lot of injuries right now, and there's
Yeah.
probably a path for him to score really well and have a little bit of value. But again, it's probably not, he doesn't have a lot of upside like Kelma. Kelma could have a lot of value, and Davy, you might just be scratching to get to that. So again, it's probably not worth it.
Where does Talis Duncan sit for you then?
Well, he does have, I think last year he had like a high 40s average on the edge when he got those big minutes. But again, like they've just got so many injuries. If we knew he had a runway where Aitken, Jai Arrow, these sort of guys were out for, an extended period of time, and we got a definite answer that he's our edge for 5, 6 weeks. At 450K, he's a great pick. We just don't know. Like if, he could come out and get swapped an hour before. We really don't know. I think he's a really solid pick if he gets that back row spot. But
Hmm.
again, we just don't know.
They've got three of them, don't they? With Aitken and Arrow to come back as well. He could obviously play some
Yeah.
middle. But yeah, it's definitely very interesting, mate. But Luke Metcalf versus Kyle Flanagan. How's that looking?
Uh Probably the easiest one so far. Metcalf, get him in. If he's got the role we all think he does, kicking goals, kicking in general play, he's a slam dunk and great for should be close to 100% owned if he's getting the spot that we think he is. So yeah, he wipes Kyle out.
Definitely, mate. And now let's have a quick look at Tom Starling versus Daniel Saifiti. We haven't spoken about much about Daniel, but he's kind of flying under the radar, I reckon.
Oh, without a doubt, he is. He's probably one of the least exciting Dolphin forwards, who we'll probably get to the other exciting one in a little bit.
Yeah.
Tom Starling again. He's one of those guys who he comes up every single year I've played fantasy. He's been an option. Again, he'll probably come up again sometime this year. Is it from round one? I don't even think Ricky knows yet, to be
Mm,
fair. If he's named round one and Owen Paddy is the 14 and Danny Levi is nowhere to be seen, then he is a great pick. He'll be getting
mm.
big minutes. But again, if he's starting Levi's there, it's probably not worth the headache, honestly.
Definitely, mate. And if we do see Billy Smith in round one, Howarth versus Billy Smith, how's that sit for you?
Oh, it's tough to say because it's not because Billy Smith's a bad player. It's just because his body is made out of glass.
Yeah.
Howarth probably wins that at a landslide just because he's in the bet one of the best teams in the comp. The round two bye hurts, but I don't think it takes away from the fact that he's a great person to start with and one that I have been considering myself.
There you go. That's interesting. Blaze Tuilagi if he makes round one, or Adam Dewey.
Adam Dewey in the centers or Adam Dewey at 5'8"? It's a
Or
completely different
seven,
chat
apparently.
because he's going to be in the centers. If he even makes the side, you just can't pick him. But if he was to move to the halves, Adam Dewey wins that, and it's not even close.
Definitely, mate. And the big one that we're all thinking of, Brimson versus Marzu. Can you have both? Or who would you pick more?
Again, this is tough. I feel like if you ask me in the morning, it'll be one answer. If you ask me at night, it could be the other. I'm not too sure. I probably lean towards Brimson, just at a smidge. And could you take both? I think there's a world where you could, but again, it's that high 400, low 500 price range that you really want to get right. If you have too many of these guys, it's just a mistake if you've got so many. Then you throw in Kelma, you throw in all these people around that 80K price point with one another, and it's bloating your side. If I had to pick one at the moment, it would be Brimson, but it's not by far. It's not by much at all.
Yeah, it's very hard to pick that halves pairing. We don't get to see it at all. We're not going to see it till round two, are we? If Campbell's going to be that guy.
Yeah, you just won't. And Brimson, he is the perfect 14 in that side. If there's an injury, Kieran Foran comes into the halves, he moves into the center. His body is also made out of glass. And like there you go. I've just changed my mind to Greg Marju. So yeah, it's tough. It's very tough.
I love that. And Mitch has actually just confirmed, guys, he's going to be doing a video a week for us on the channel. He's going to go through his team. He's going to give his best picks for the week and kind of, yeah, obviously review his side and his thoughts as well. So I think that's going to be massive. I know that's something that you guys like a lot is, me going through my team and for Mitch to jump on and do that this year for a guy that's been, back to back top hundreds. I think that's awesome, mate. So thanks for that. And I'm sure everyone's going to love that this year. So you'll be seeing his face plenty, which is going to be awesome. And now, Seyfarth versus Aaron Clark.
Oh, another pretty not a tricky question, but Aaron Clark has been a fan favorite of many fantasy
Yeah.
coaches over the last few years, and definitely this one. But Alex Seyfarth, he gets that back row spot, which it looks like he is. He is a slam dunk, and he wins, and it's not even close. If he gets that edge spot, he should be highly, highly talked about in your fantasy side. There are some cons, but these are one of the educated guesses and a risk per se that is definitely worth it because he has like what's he priced at? He is priced at
475.
yeah, 475 at like a 35 average. He's a high 40s, low 50s guy at that back row spot. So he's one that you pick, and if it goes pear shaped, then you took an educated risk and it was worth it.
Yeah. And he got named as captain, mate. What's going on there?
Oh, if he's your captain, then you're in trouble. But it is a trial side, don't get me wrong, but yeah, geez. Oh well, he's a good fantasy pick and we'll leave it at that.
Yeah. Mate, we got three at the same price here they're going to go for in the outside backs. Leia Taua, Skelton, and Isaac Tungo. Give us your thoughts on those three.
Yeah, very, very interesting Isaac Tungo. One that I jumped on last year. Again, a bit of a punt. I was sitting really, really high up in the ranks and I really wanted to take a good punt and it didn't really work. I knew what I was getting myself into. If we didn't have a lot of the good cheapy centers outside backs, I would really be looking at Tago. Again, next to Cleary, his average is all muddled up. He's got stats all over the place, but I think he's a
Yeah.
really, really good player. And if he's going to be next to Cleary, they've got a 5'8" on the other side who's pretty new to the game, so he'd definitely be seeing a lot more ball. I would personally go Tago, but again, wouldn't budge the other two.
Okay. Yeah, Ali looked incredible the other day, didn't he? He's a big
Yeah.
boy. Absolutely massive. All right, I haven't found the perfect guy to go up against Tom Gilbert, mate. So I think we just want your thoughts on Tom Gilbert now that we've seen him named at 13 with Plath at 12. What's going on there?
Yeah, you just come back to it's a trial. Maybe it's one of those things where Christian Wolf is trying to get his best team on the park at once. It's nobody really expected Plath to turn into Superman last year. Like he killed it. No one really expected that. But Tom Gilbert is their guy. He is an Origin representative. Plath isn't so far away, but I think Gilbert's a really good pick. Personally at 500k with the duel, he's priced at 37, so I expect him. He is coming off a shoulder reco, an ACL. I expect him to go close to being the captain. Like I said, he's an Origin representative, and he's their guy in an
Yeah.
aging pack. He's their forward leader. They have signed Daniel Saifidi, but he doesn't come close to Gilbert in my opinion, and I expect big things from him. Maybe not to start, but again, he's one of that at that 500k price point where you want to nail that, and I think he's a really good shout.
Yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it? Because you're looking at those mid-range guys in the early fours and stuff like that. And it's like, well, do you just pay for the guy that's close to their most important player? Like, do you go for that even if there are some worries? You know that he's at least going to be in their plans for good minutes, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what it always comes back to. You look at these mid-ranges like Nafahu White, really volatile coach. Does he get the spot for 1 week? Does he chop and change? Is he out of the side? Tom Gilbert is their guy, very unlucky with injuries and he's coming to the game at 500k, has a duel. And like I said, it's a very aging roster. Mark Nichols, all these sort of guys, Bromwich, and let's say Plath does go to edge. It is a trial, but you have to have these conversations. If Plath does go into edge, I think it puts Gilbert in that, eventually a few rounds in that 60-minute mid roll. And I just don't see I see a world where Gilbert can hit 60 minutes quite regularly. And I think he's a really good shout.
He's had some weird games. I saw it was a 35 points in 80 minutes at lock.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on there? He just make a lot
Yeah,
of his tackles he does.
he does give me that vibe where he's like the inspirational leader where he wants to kind of go on, put a big shot on, which is not good for fantasy, obviously. He
Yeah.
runs out of the line, tries to lift his side. And that's just the type of leader he is. And because of that, I expect him to be playing those big minutes, with Plath at back row, at nine on the bench. They need Gilbert on the field. So, that does translate to fantasy. And like I said, I think he's a really good pick.
Definitely, mate. And guys, if you haven't hit subscribe or follow podcasts and also YouTube, get around and do that. And check out the information in the description, guys, around that private group. It's getting close now. If you do want to jump in, I'd love for you to be in the next week so we can get you in all the head-to-head comps, the overall stuff as well, and have a cracking season. Mitch, as you saw there, you won some cash last year, and there's a lot more competitions this year. What do you think of those coming up?
Yeah, mate, it's really, really exciting. It depends why you play fantasy. A lot of us don't play fantasy for the prizes and all that sort of stuff. But like I said, it is nice when you play fantasy and you do pretty well and then you end up winning some pretty good prizes. And it's not a little bit of cash, let's just say that there's quite a good assortment of things that you can win. And like Jamie said, guys, it's a really big group. It's a really exciting, good group as well. It's not a lot of you don't see any, delete your team, or it's not toxic or any of that sort of stuff. It's welcoming for people of all levels of fantasy, whether or not you're very new, it's your first or second year, or you've been playing for ages like myself. A lot of good guys. You probably have to mute the group chat because yeah, or else your phone would explode. But no, it's a cracking group of blokes in there, and I've made really, really good friends. I'd like to call some of my good friends today. So yeah, it's good.
That's awesome, mate. And I actually did see a few people say that today about the group chat. And I'll just, if I'm busy doing a video, I'm like, all right, sleep mode. So
Yeah,
it's just they just keep coming
yeah.
through. But it's only going to get worse, isn't it, for that with round one around the corner now. We're 11 days away, which is so hectic. But mate, a fun one coming at you. Ryan Papanhyzen, Toby Couchman.
Wow, it's definitely interesting duo. God, I love Pap from a footy perspective. I think last year we got him at the mid 400s or whatever price he was, and again 530. The buy in round two doesn't help. A lot of us are taking Munster, Howarth, these sort of guys, Harry Grant. So I think for that alone, Pappenhausen has been in the back of everybody's mind. I don't even think I've seen him in anyone's draft. So,
No, not
um, you know,
much.
yeah, probably not. If he was to get the goal kicking, it's a completely different conversation, and you probably have to, throw him in. Toby Couchman's very interesting. I feel like the casual fantasy fan and NRL fan probably don't know who Toby Couchman is, and that's fine. He's a PPM machine. If Flano come out and said he's our guy, he's getting 50, 55 minutes, probably a must have.
Mm,
Um, just because of the volatile nature of Flano, and he's probably the worst coach in the NRL to have a 1 hour change before kickoff. I
yeah,
can I can see Couchman coming out in round one, getting 52 minutes, getting a 50, and then round two he gets put back to the bench, and some other bum starting. So um, yeah, probably a good if you're confident in his PPM and the minutes in that pack. I think he's a good shout, really underrated pick, and you probably won't see him again in anyone's draft. But yeah, I don't mind it.
yeah. Well, he's back-to-back starters now, so there should be at least
Yeah,
some type of decent minutes there. It's just, is it 50 or is it 45 or is it 55? There's
yeah.
completely different levels because his PPM's so high. Like yeah, it's wild for sure. But mate, your thoughts on Big Red? We don't get to see him at all before round one.
No, we don't get to see him play. All we get to hear is Ricky say he should be playing Origin. So take that what you will. Again, he's not one I've even considered once. This preseason, again, Fisher Harris is 50K more. Few of those back rollers are a little bit cheaper than Fisher Harris. I just don't know where he gets the minutes. What's the number he needs to be at value? He needs to get those about 50 minutes. And I just, again, like how does he consistently average those high minutes? They've got Taps. They got Hudson Young. They've got Morgan Smithies. Like, where did these minutes come
Hosking,
from?
yeah,
It's yeah, like it's all well and good, and
Nicholson.
it's one of those picks, in my opinion, that if you squint real hard, you can probably see him get those minutes, but it's round one. You don't want to be thinking that way. If Tarpanay or was to get injured or he was to go back to 13, again, we have that conversation, but I don't see it personally right now.
Yeah, and still Big Papa there as well. It's they're the most stacked forward pack I think in the whole comp,
Yeah.
and so that's where it's hard. He probably deserves those minutes, but yeah, he has to hit that one ppm, doesn't he, at 50 minutes to be worth it. I can see it working out. I can't really see much downside, but is there the
Yeah,
upside
no,
we want, I suppose?
Yeah, I can see him sitting around the same price, maybe, hovering a little bit, hovering that 40, 50K, getting to that 600. He was an 800K guy a few years ago,
Yeah.
but it was a completely different role. I doubt Ricky's going to be slamming him for 73 minutes a game. So,
Yeah. Well, mate, last few we're getting to up towards 600K, which is when we'll stop and we'll leave it for the guns video. But Bradman Best v Ruben Garrick. Talk us through that one.
there's been a lot of love for Bradman Best over the last, few weeks. A
Yeah.
few other people coming out, and I don't mind the shout. But when you compare him against Ruben Garrick, I think Garrick wins and it's not close. They've got a cracking draw to start the year, and Garrick comes in at a little discount. You know, um, Goal kicking center for a top eight side. He's got a lot of upside, Garrick, and they've given him to us cheaper because of all the head knocks he had last year. I think he had three or four head knocks. I think Garrick's a really great shout. He's currently in my side, and a lot of other top coaches' sides. You can play him at wing fullback in the earlier rounds and then move him to your center position. So I really like Garrick.
Beautiful, mate. And a few to go. Hosking, thoughts on him?
Yeah, another one. If we knew he was getting 80 minutes, he's probably in every single person's side who plays the game. But we just don't know. They've brought over that young back rower, and he's not really here to play cup either. He killed it in the trials. He played pretty well, and Hosking, is coming off a shoulder. He's coming off a calf. I just don't see him getting the minutes to be a pretty solid pick come round one.
That's probably it, hey, when you've got Huddy Young as the big minute guy, there's no way he plays 80 coming off all these injuries, hey.
Yeah, no way. And Ricky Stewart typically likes to play one 80-minute edge and then have, a 50, 60-minute guy and then somebody who can fill positions. And, if Hosking has made the position his own, he would have done it already. He's only played something like 30 games. He's only started and played 80 minutes in like nine of them, I think, or
Yeah.
whatever that number is. So again, he's been around for a while. He's a great fantasy player. He's a really good player in real life too. But again, I just don't know if it's the upside's there if Matty Nicholson is named on the bench come round one.
Definitely, mate. And let's go Munster and Luai.
Yeah, God, I think it's Munster and Daylight. I think this is the one that everybody's kind of overthinking a lot. They're going through looking at injuries and they're looking at him last season. If you told us last year you'd get Munster under 600K, it's just you don't really think about it. He is coming off like a double hip surgery or whatever the injury might be, but all I'm hearing is how fit he is and he's coming out and playing in this trial. It just comes down to Munster under 600K, the great pick. One I haven't even thought about taking out. Sometimes we get a little too bored and we start messing around with our teams and trying to fit other people in. And I've seen a lot of people taking out Munster, just because. And not that I think it's silly. I think there's definitely a route you can go without taking Munster, but I think he has a lot of value and it's kind of just sitting there for us. So I think it's Munster and not even close.
Beautiful. And last one, mate. Teague Wilton and John Bateman.
Yeah, this is a good one because I don't mind either of them. T. Wilton's a bit boring though. Like he's a bit meat and potatoes, He's probably going to average 48 to 49, I'd maybe 50, but John Bateman could be anything at 595K. He's been in majority of my drafts. A few early chatters with Peyton saying, he's got to play and protect his young half and in Thomas Duffy, which is exciting for us. I
Mm.
just don't see a world where he doesn't get big minutes because they need him to. Um, Cows are going to struggle this year. You would have to imagine with the people they've lost and the injuries and things like that. So, maybe there's a world where young Kai O'Donnell comes in and then we get a hybrid Bateman. And yeah, I can't see a world where Bateman doesn't average, 49 at the minimum. I only see upside, which is, yeah, makes Bateman a great pick.
Yeah, definitely, mate. What are your thoughts on coach coming out and saying, look, we know what we were getting, bringing him over, likely to play some good minutes for us. We're probably going to rest him through the week at training and stuff. Does that worry you at all?
Not particularly, no. I think that's just one of the things that like he is 31 and everywhere Bateman's gone, he's brought trouble. Bateman himself has come out and said, of course he has a brand new club. He's come out and said this is the fittest he's ever been, and he wants to lead. He wants to be a leader. But Bateman, there is definitely some risk to it, of course. Like I said, he's everywhere he's gone, he's had trouble, but I still think he's a really great pick. And again, like I think last year he was 700 and something K. Him and Papali'i were the same price. We're getting these guys at such discounts that it's like, are you overthinking it to a degree? We know what Bateman is. He is 31, and maybe that's a risk, but it's a risk I'm willing to take to get these guys under 600k. They're cut price keepers, and there's a world where Bateman is a final team keeper. Like, let's be honest. So
Yep.
to get that under 600k, I think it's a great pick.
Yeah, definitely. Those guys that we know that can get back there. Mate, we'll leave this one there. You can see your boy Fisher Harris sitting at the top there, but we'll leave that for the guns video because I know you see him as a top tier gun. So thanks for jumping on for this one, guys, and I really hope you enjoyed this and it helped you with some of your picks, and hopefully it was nice and clear cut. And we're, as I say, getting very close to round one. We're getting a lot more of the information, and hopefully your teams are coming together nicely. And if Mitch has changed your mind on any of these, let us know in the comments as well. Cheers, guys.
Thanks, guys.